The Trump legal team laid out its case during a bombshell press conference. The media reaction was exactly what you would think. Plus, we'll take a look at yet another political publication that got the 2020 election terribly wrong. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. Happy Friday. I hope you had a great week. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start with yesterday's bombshell press conference because the Kraken was certainly released. We're talking about Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis. The Trump campaign legal team got a press conference and laid out the case of the voter fraud, the mass corruption on a scale that I've never seen before. I mean, this press conference was amazing, folks. I've never seen anything like it. And if this comes to pass, if all of this is true, we are talking about the biggest scandal in the history of our country, a scandal involving voter fraud so massive that it rocks our republic. We cannot have this and continue on as the United States of America because we give our power to the government, to people that we decide to elect. And if those elections are taken from us, if they are stolen from us, we cease to be a free country. That's what is at stake here, folks. And this is what they laid out. They laid out this case. And I want to start with Rudy Giuliani because he went through eyewitness accounts and evidence and laid out the narrative of what they see went on during election, leading up to it, and following. Here's Giuliani.
And what emerged very quickly is there's not a singular voter fraud in one state. This pattern repeats itself in a number of states, almost exactly the same pattern, which to any experienced investigator, prosecutor, would suggest that there was a plan from a centralized place to execute these various acts of voter fraud, specifically focused on big cities.
All right, so what they found is that they are not looking at isolated cases. What they saw was a pattern. They found patterns in the big cities in manipulating ballots and in the software used to count and change the votes that were coming in. This is what they found, coordinated effort on a large scale in the major cities known for corruption. We're talking about Milwaukee, we're talking about Detroit, we're talking about Philadelphia, Atlanta. Across the country, folks, this was big. It involved both the ballots, fraudulent ballots, and practices of backdating and other things, and the machines themselves. And then Sidney Powell came to the podium and outlined the voting machines, the voting software, and what that was all about. And here's Powell.
But one of its most characteristic features is its ability to flip votes. It can set and run an algorithm that probably ran all over the country to take a certain percentage of votes from President Trump and flip them to President Biden, which we might never have uncovered had the votes for President Trump not been so overwhelming in so many of these states that it broke the algorithm that had been plugged into the system. And that's what caused them to have to shut down in the states they shut down in. That's when they came in the back door with all the mail-in ballots.
So the software can change votes. It can be programmed in. And that was part of the plan, according to these folks, that Biden would end up getting more votes than was actually calculated. President Trump would get less. And that was what was going on. The problem was, as she points out, that the votes for President Trump were so massive that then you had to have this notorious swing state shutdown where they said, oh my gosh, the code that we put in is not enough. We need to bring in more ballots. We need to scan more ballots. That's when the bogus ballots arrived. That's when Republican observers were shut out, and it all ties together. And here's Powell.
Workers in each county were trained by Dominion, but there's no evidence of any monitoring otherwise. We have testimony of different workers admitting that they were trained how to dispose of Trump votes and add to Biden votes. The software has a feature pursuant to which you can drag and drop any number of batches of votes to the candidate of your choice or simply throw them away. So we have mathematical evidence in a number of states of massive quantities of Trump votes being trashed, just simply put in the trash like you would on your computer with any file, and Biden votes being injected.
This is just stunning, folks, and it is scary. Benjamin Franklin said, "You have a republic if you can keep it." Well, if we don't have confidence in our elections, we can't keep it. We lose our republic. We lose our freedoms if votes can be manipulated and the left can step in and say, here are the leaders that we want. It does not matter what the people want. Then we lose. We are on the losing end. And that is why we have to pursue this. We have to push this to the courts and see what they say. Because if President Trump really did get more votes in more states to make a difference because of all this fraud, to make sure that he actually won re-election, then we need to pursue that. This cannot just be an academic exercise to point out that there was massive voter fraud and we need to correct it in the future. We need to make sure that this election was not stolen and the rightful person is the winner. That's what we need to do. In the time remaining, we need to make this case, folks, because our entire future of America is at stake. I can't stress that any more than that, because this is some serious allegations with hundreds and hundreds of eyewitness accounts, affidavits. The evidence is right there. They need to present it and make the case. So next, let's talk about the media reaction. But first, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified. We're now making our push for 150,000 members, and we can do it with your help. All right, so as you can imagine, all you had to do was look at the Q&A session of the press conference to know that the few media members that were packed in there were hostile. They weren't asking basic journalist questions. A lot of these witnesses, their names they allowed to be made public. Their affidavits are out there. I've read them. You could read them. Journalists could read them and interview these people, talk to these people, scrutinize them, see if things add up. They're not doing that at all. They are dismissing it out of hand. And that's a crime as far as real journalism in the United States of America. But the reaction throughout the day was just terrible. Here is MSNBC's Chuck Todd just mocking the press conference.
And then last hour, Rudy Giuliani has been doing an SNL skit of sorts. He's technically the guy leading Trump's campaign's legal challenge efforts. And he's been, again, this has been a bonkers press conference. He told reporters without presenting any real evidence that there was a, quote, centralized plan to commit voter fraud.
So the whole press conference with Jenna, Ellis, and Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani was centered on the evidence, the affidavits, the eyewitness accounts of what was going on. Eyewitnesses saying they were trained by Dominion workers on how to change votes. Eyewitnesses have attested to that under penalty of perjury. We have other eyewitnesses saying that they had to backdate ballots, that they were shut out of observing, on and on and on. Eyewitness accounts, and yet Chuck Todd and the others use the same tired line that there's no evidence. The whole press conference was about evidence. Well, guess what? Guess who else had a press conference yesterday? Joe Biden. And the media were just fawning over him, the same narrative as if he is king already. Here's a question from one of the reporters.
And when you take a step back and you look at the way the president is handling this, his refusal to concede, what do you think is really going on here? In your view, Mr. President-elect, what do you think the president is doing? What are Americans witnessing here?
Mr. President-elect, give me a break. This is so lame. Never a hard question at all. Most of them are just like this about Biden's feelings. What do you feel about this? How do you feel about what Trump is doing? Nothing real. How about asking him, what do you think about all of these affidavits that have been signed? What do you think about accusations of voter fraud? What do you think about the fact that Dominion voting machines and software from Smartmatic were complained about by Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar, not certified in Texas? These are problematic issues, folks. They should be asking the nominee, the top dog of the Democrats, these questions. Let's get his opinion. Let's see what he thinks. But nothing like that. And here's Biden.
Let me choose my words here. I think they're witnessing incredible irresponsibility. incredibly damaging messages being sent to the rest of the world about how democracy functions. And I think it is well, I don't know his motive, but I just think it's totally irresponsible.
Incredible irresponsibility. That's what Joe Biden says. That's what he's saying. In the face of this incredible number of examples, affidavits, eyewitness accounts of voter fraud, he says it's incredibly irresponsible to investigate it. The media are saying it's irresponsible to investigate it. Let's just move along. What about all these people? Don't they have a right to be heard? Shouldn't we investigate this as the freest country in the world whose freedom depends on confidence in our elections? That's what we have to do. I want to move on to the next segment, but first I'll leave you with this. These are the words of Hillary Clinton to Joe Biden during this election cycle.
You know, Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances because I think this is going to drag out, and eventually I do believe he will win if we don't give an inch.
Yep, she said it. That's Hillary Clinton to Joe Biden. And now look what they're saying about President Trump. So next, I want to put into perspective the 2020 election results and go over some of the predictions for one esteemed publication. But think about this, okay? In this election cycle, we're supposed to believe that a candidate with dementia who can't get words out, who hides from the press, who doesn't actually campaign, who energizes no one, he is the one that's supposed to have shattered voting records, set new records for votes for, and yet the rest of his ticket, this blue wave that was supposed to sweep away the House and Senate Republicans, never happened. That's what we're supposed to believe, that he had zero coattails at all. He sets records, blasts Obama. President Trump blasted Obama as well, and then we're supposed to believe that he got more than President Trump, yet had no coattails to deliver anything on the Senate and House side. That's what we're supposed to believe. And everybody, all the pollsters got it wrong. And the Cook Political Report, they messed up in a big way and got every toss-up basically that they called wrong. And here's the report. Republicans won all 27 House races the Cook Political Report rated as toss-ups in its 2020 election analysis, in addition to picking up 7 of the 36 seats the outlet rated as likely Democrat or lean Democrat. Before the election, the Cook Political Report listed 229 seats as either solid Democrat, likely Democrat, or lean Democrat to go along with the 26 toss-ups. As of Thursday, the party's best hope is for 226 seats, though the Cook Political Report rates 223 as a more likely outcome. The results represent a major disappointment for Democrats who grew increasingly confident of a blue wave leading up to Election Day that would give them an expanded House majority. So that's the House side. All the races that they called as toss-ups went for Republicans. Pretty interesting. What about the Senate side? Here's more. Disappointment for Democrats wasn't limited to races in the House. The party also had high hopes of flipping the Senate away from Republican control. Of the 7 Senate races the Cook Political Report rated as toss-ups, Republicans won 5, as well as all 4 races listed as lean Republican. The other 2 toss-up races still outstanding are both in Georgia, where runoff elections are being held in January. So, all the toss-up races that they listed for the House went Republican. All the toss-up races that they listed in the Senate went Republican, except for 2 that aren't finished yet, that still have the election in January. That's what they did. That was their predictions. Not a single House Republican incumbent lost. Not a single one. We gained seats, yet Biden supposedly blew out President Trump. Right. So, with that in mind, with the blue wave that wasn't, we have to ask all these leftists, do you have a relaxed brain?
I got what you call, a relaxed brain.
All right, friends, there's so much to go over. We're going to bust through this because I know I ran long today. We're going to start with Ilhan Omar, who tried to one-up Senator Marco Rubio. Rubio was blasting far-left radical Raphael Warnock. He's the one who's running against Kelly Loeffler in one of these Georgia Senate races. He's supposedly a pastor, yet believes it's okay to kill a baby in the womb. he also came out and had said that you can't serve God and the military. So Rubio blasted him, and then Ilhan Omar got on and tried to one-up Rubio, and here's what she tweeted. Matthews 6:24. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and the money. The lies and smears of the GOP have no boundaries, but this is a disgrace and shameful. First of all, it's Matthew, 2 T's and certainly no S, and that passage has nothing to do with serving God and the military. Omar has no idea what she's talking about. She can't even get the book right. So then there's AOC. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has this brilliant idea for fighting coronavirus, and here's what she tweeted. To get the virus under control, we need to pay people to stay home. Unreal. We need to pay them to stay home. Forget the United States of America. Forget personal choices. Forget working and providing for your own family. Nope. We want everyone to stay home because we know this is not about controlling the virus. It's about controlling people. And that's what the left wants. And so finally, then, I got to give you this clip from Kristen Fisher over at Fox News, because she showed that even Fox News can join the left-wing narrative that was all over the place following the Release the Kraken press conference yesterday. Here's Fisher.
Well, that was certainly a colorful news conference from Rudy Giuliani, but it was light on facts. So much of what he said was simply not true or has already been thrown out in court. And, Giuliani, he opened by making this really bold and baseless claim.
Bold and baseless claims? Who is this person? She sounds like an opinion commentator. Go investigate. The whole press conference was about evidence, was about eyewitnesses. Go do some actual investigation, some interviews, and come back and give us that report. Folks, it's just outrageous. But that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Next show, Monday, our 13-minute news hour. Same time, same channel. Until then, please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell. And we'll see you next time. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour. Okay, friends, thanks so much for watching. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you'll be notified. And here's a special video just for you so you can watch even more of the 13-minute news hour. And don't forget to check out GOPUSA.com for the best in conservative news and commentary. We'll see you next time.